So this is probably going to be a longer video than usual. That's why I'm not making it on TikTok, because I think it'll go maybe beyond 10 minutes. Things have been incredibly intense the last few days. They have reached out to me. I've spent time with my panties in a twist, pissed off, which you can see in some of my videos. So last night I went to bed and dreamt about my sister Cindy, who came to me. And I woke up this morning realizing Cindy obviously spoke to me throughout my sleep last night, because I woke up with a completely different perspective. It also helps that when I woke up and checked my emails, Thomas had left me an email with his general "I'm connected to Terry Joyce," which, ew, I'm not. Ick. I have a better choice of friends than that. But at the very end, he said, "Please stop." And it reminded me of what Doug Mesner, aka Lucien Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, did a little over a year ago on Twitter or X or whatever you call it, under the handle Chief Handler, where he offered me any amount of money I wanted and if I would just stop all of this. And of course I told him no. And I sent an email to everybody. I just took Thomas's email this morning, wrote a big long email explaining my position, and sent it off to my investigators. This is what I think is happening. Thomas and Terry Joyce and PhoenixEnigma and all of them have spent all of this time telling me how they're getting me investigated. They're having everyone investigate me. And what's happening is that people probably are investigating me. They have investigated me. I'm sure my sheriff in town has tried to investigate me. The Algona police in Washington were on top of me. And I'm sure they investigated me. And what they're going to find is that what Thomas is telling them, and Terry Joyce is telling them, and Captain Underpants is telling them, and all their other group that's reaching out, they investigate me and realize that what they're saying is ridiculous. It's stupid. But when you're an investigator and you get a tip like that from all these people, and then you look at me and see what I'm saying, what will end up happening is those people will be like, okay, well, if this isn't true, why are they doing this? Maybe what David is saying is true. That's why yesterday they sent me that mention, because it's in my mentions. I'm done looking at those, because I woke up this morning realizing I don't give a fuck what Terry Joyce has to say, or any of their other anonymous freaks. I don't care what Captain Underpants has to say. I never watched the videos, but I was still checking the mentions, and it irritated me. It did. A lot of you are saying that I shouldn't be irritated. That people are going to look at me. Oh, in the last few months, they break into my house at will. They've been attacking me constantly. They just murdered my best friend and danced around and laughed about it until I made an issue to Captain Underpants, and the Goblin Dowd were sending me pictures of places in my town, let alone my house that was freshly painted last fall. So they were in my town. And it was all a joke to them until I made an issue out of it. And now they're the victims. But investigators are going to look at that. And the broken record thing yesterday, I woke up this morning realizing, you're right, I am a broken record. For way over a decade, I've been saying the same things over and over and over and over. Always the same, always consistent. always, this child trafficking BS needs to be investigated, and it needs to stop. Yesterday's exchange with Tara Joyce was really enlightening for me. This wannabe martyr, desperate wannabe martyr, is totally focused on her 15 minutes of fame. And she's desperately trying to reseek that, to get that back. Look at her. Everything she does, it's all me, 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 me. I've never cared about fame. All I wanted to live is a peaceful existence. And I've never had that because I've spent my entire life trying to bust this child trafficking ring. While they have murdered people. My sister Cindy, Issac Kappy, David Klotz, Owen Wingert, all of those people in my life, they have murdered. But I'm supposed to just sit here and smile. Oh, it's wonderful. I'm so glad they murdered my friends. I'm so glad they're fucking kids. I'm so glad they're trafficking kids. Isn't it wonderful? That's how I'm supposed to act? And yeah, what I just did now, I'm sure that Tara Joyce is going to take screenshots of what my face looked like just then, and she's going to show everybody. But she won't tell anybody what I'm saying, what precipitated it, you know? Thomas, they all want to focus on me. So I'm sure investigators have focused on me. And once they investigate and find out that there's nothing there, and Thomas and all of them thought that Neil Gross would be their ace in the hole, not realizing that Neil has a drug operation in town. And the only reason why I know that, my tie is kind of screwed up. I just don't want him to say, oh, well, his tie was off, so he must be crazy because his tie was off, you know? This is all for you, Thomas. Freshly bathed, my hair is washed. You should take my example. Do the same thing today. I know it's a terrible thing, but once a month, you gotta do it. So, I realized that the reason why they're coming at me so hard is because their shit is falling apart. That's the reason why they're after me. Captain Apu, Geo, him and Daniel Dowd were sending me pictures of my town and my house and laughing that they were in town. When Geo posted that video on YouTube that showed he was in Harlan, he wrote, "Poor David." And it was because Owen died right at the same exact time. And now that I'm calling that out, he's claiming victimization. But things are not the way I perceive them to be. Seeing that deputy in the park with his wife the other day and being able to meet his amazing dog. She was just amazing and beautiful and so sweet. But I realized that he didn't have animosity towards me, just the opposite. I mean, he went out of his way to assure me, because my reply to him was, I'm not the bastard everyone seems to think I am. And he was like, no, you know. I think things are being investigated. I think things are being looked at. They're not going to come and tell me because they're afraid that I would take their investigation and announce it on a video. I don't blame them. And I don't need to know what they're investigating. I don't need to know what they're finding. I just want it investigated. And I know that I can't do it because anything that I present is going to be dismissed, is going to be discredited. They're going to dismiss anything I come up. That's the reason why they had Jules and they had Glenna constantly asking me. But Jules and Glenna, chances are they're going to subpoena my phone records. If if I was an investigator, I would, especially the stuff they're talking about with me. If they're going to investigate me, they're going to subpoena those records and find out that you two reached out to me, just like Thomas reached out to me. And it was a constant basis to try and get attention. You're implicated in it now. They're going to want to know what your position is in it. And you get what you get. I get, oh, you shouldn't be angry. You shouldn't be angry. Jesus Christ beat the money changers in the temples with a stick. What do you think God is going to do with a bunch of child traffickers? People who hurt kids. And it's not just hurting kids. When you look at those kids, both of those kids have two parents. Those parents have relatives. It destroys the family and the community. It does so much damage that it is unbelievable. And these people parade around with impunity like they can't be touched. And they're mad because I won't let it go. And they have tried to take me out over and over and over. And the only reason I'm here, from what I can tell, is because of God. Gotta love coffee. Last night, dreaming about Cindy, when I woke up this morning, I realized that there are things going on that I don't know about. And it explains why they're dancing around like minuets, trying to come at me on a continuous basis. And I was angry because I was starting to lose hope. But now that I know about that software, that they can find out all of those people's, they can find out who Andy Villa is. They can find out, because if I was investigators, I would also subpoena my emails. That's what I would do. And I would be willing to bet that has already happened. And they're going to find out that I'm not connected to anyone. No one. I stand alone in all of this. They're the group, not me. And the minute they realize that these people have been feeding them bullshit, the question's gonna come up, why? What was the point? That's what these people are so afraid of. Thomas this morning asked me to stop. In the email that I replied to him and put all of my investigators, including Neil Gross, I told him, no, I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping. You know, I haven't stopped yet. I'm not going to stop until this gets investigated. You know, I'm not going to stop until this gets investigated. And so that's what this video is. I woke up with a completely new perspective. They break into my house. They've been attacking me. They just murdered one of my dearest friends that I spent a lot of time with. If I wasn't emotional about that, I think there'd be something wrong with me, you know? And what all of you see in these videos, I've said it repeatedly. These videos are what? 10 minutes long at the most usually? This one's a little bit longer. You see 10 minutes of my day. Now the last few days, yeah, I have been pissed. But there's other stuff going on in my life. It's not like life stress. And life has its own stress, has just stopped. So their stuff compelled with that there. If I sat there with no effect, no emotional effect whatsoever, I'd be held accountable for that. Oh, well, obviously it's not true. He's showing no emotion. You know? They're going to find anything they can to stop me and discredit me. I mean, and it's constant. Shit, I get email. For being a famous composer, that dude has a lot of time to email everybody, to email me constantly, all day long. Same thing with Tara Joyce. She's constantly making videos. Geo, Captain Underpants. Pootie Twang has stopped. But that's because I think he knows he's fucked. They're all fucked. They busted that satanic Nazi pedophile ring last September. And this whole group is part of that ring. The satanic after-school daycare brought to you by the Satanic Temple is targeting your kids. That's how they're finding your kids, is through that satanic after-school daycare program with Lucien Greaves. I believe Thomas is high up in this, and he's the one instrumenting all of these people that are all connected to everything dead Issac Kappy. Because they're not focused on what he was doing in life. It's only dead Issac Kappy that they're focused on. And so I think everything is starting to come out. And I think they're starting to panic. And I think that's the reason. Today I expect after I post this video, if I went into mentions, which I have no intentions of doing, I am sure there'll be all kinds of shit from all of these anonymous posters convincing me or trying to convince me that I'm off base and I'm wrong. But I don't think I am. I think this stuff is starting to actually come out. And so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, because what I'm doing seems to work. And these child traffickers and all these people who would defend the child traffickers, like my sheriff who hid that terrorist attack with that Erling, Iowa gas station, y'all get what you fucking get. I don't feel sorry for you. You will get the same amount of mercy that you've offered everyone else, including and most especially me. And the stuff is so stupid because Thomas's arguments now are that I'm dating that Tara Joyce person. Ooh, if I was straight, she would turn me gay. Thinking about dating her makes me even more gay. Blah. But, ick. I have way better taste in friends. And, but then he said that I'm working with the Daily Beast. You know? I don't even read anything from the Daily Beast. But it makes me think maybe I should reach out to them and let them know what's going on with Thomas. Maybe that's a good idea. That's the reason why the stuff that they tell me, the stuff that they go direct at me, gives me directions on where to focus. Because what they're afraid of is what they'll dance around with, you know? All of this child trafficking needs to stop. Sorry. That's all I've ever cared about. That's what I've wrote a book about. I am not going to grovel for being forced to light a guy on fire when I was 10 years old. I had survivor guilt. My therapist has told me she's never met anybody who had as much survivor guilt as I do. And then she asked me one time, at 10 years old, would you have chosen to light that dude on fire? I said, no. Then she said, then you're not responsible. You were forced to do it. I was 10 years old. I was so strong at 10 years old, I didn't have a psychotic break until I was 13. Thomas and Tara Joyce And all of those people will say, oh, they'll pose it like it just happened a year ago. I'm 57 now. My father doused that dude with what I think it was charcoal fluid. And my stepmother gave me the matches and made me light a match and throw it on him. The reason why they did it is because it assured my silence. Because they were telling me that I was the one who killed him. Even though it was my stepmother who put something in his drink that knocked him out, that enabled my dad to drag him down into the basement. And then we lit him on fire that night. And if you go watch one of my very first videos where I was incorrect, I was 10, not 13. So the date with my sign is wrong. But you can hear the trains in the background. It happened in the middle of the night with a bunch of trains, which is why nobody hurt anybody. And no one was living in the duplex beside us. We were in that building alone, on a corner. I have tried to get this investigated over and over and over and over. And the fact that they will manipulate what happened to me when I was 10 and then follow, because let me tell you, the one who has gone on and on and on about what happened when I was 13 is the only adult that was there, my sister Kappy. She was the adult, but she has absolutely no accountability whatsoever with what happened to her own children, even though she will tell you, well, he didn't go to jail because I told him he was being terribly abused. Well, why would you leave a 13-year-old you know is being horribly abused with a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old? Because my 2 nephews were there. They left me all day. That's how this all happened. That's how this all happened. This is the same sister, Kathy, that convinced me that our stepmother was dead. The one who was involved heavily with my dad with child trafficking, the one who handed me the match and made me throw it on that guy to light him on fire. She's not dead. She lives in Omaha. It'll be pretty easy to find her, I would think. All of this needs to be investigated. It always has. And I have said this over and over and over. I had a blog before my book. I published a book in 2012. It's now 2024, and I'm still saying the same thing, working at the same objective. That's how this is. And so I think that because I have been so consistent, maybe what I'm saying might have some merit. And if it does have some merit, maybe it needs to be investigated. Because if it got investigated, you would find that I was telling the truth. None of this is going to stop until this group is investigated and prosecuted and incarcerated. That's how all of this works. And if they're innocent, they should have no problems. I don't have any problems being investigated. You don't see me running around saying, don't look at me, nothing to see here. I'm telling you, go ahead, investigate me. But if you're going to investigate me, you better investigate the things that I'm saying as well. Because I'm telling the truth. And so, and yeah, I do get angry. You murder my friend, you break into my house, you threaten to murder my dogs, you send me shit day in and day out, and it's going to irritate the piss out of me. But the problem with them is that my bite is so much worse than my bark. And I have no problems biting down and holding on until my objective is achieved. That's all part of my training. And I'm very, very good at it. Just ask Doug Mesner, aka Lucien Greaves, aka Chief Handler on Twitter. He'll tell you, shit, if I was in it for the money, I would have taken his. And he offered me so much more than the pittance that fucking Thomas did. And Thomas was not doing it out of the graciousness of his heart. And the reason why I say that is because look at what he's done with it. He's weaponized it. He uses his generosity against me. And that's how this works. And I would tell them, I would say fuck them. But like I've told them repeatedly, as I've see it, they've fucked themselves so royally already, there's no need to say anything. And that's today's video. I hope I wasn't angry. I hope you guys I didn't make anybody butthurt. But if I did, okay.